This is where it's at. This is where we come to get that information about how we do what it is that we want to do. You guys know, I want you to know something and wrap your head around this is that there is a scientific process to achievement. Um, it's something that we don't talk about a whole lot because everybody's kind of walking around in this space. We're like, I don't know why things happen the way that they happen, but we kind of distance ourselves from our world because that's just the way we've been taught. We haven't been taught a linear scientific process to achievement, but there actually is a scientific process to achievement. And if you apply certain ideals and you stick to those ideals, you stick to those principles, or what we like to refer to as laws. A law means that it happens for everybody the same way. It's the same for everybody everywhere at the same time. That's an absolute law. And we have laws that govern this universe. We know that. We talk about that. Cause and effect is one of those laws. When we push up on something, it pushes back on us. And through the process of that and thinking that way and learning to apply those laws toward what it is that you want, the process of achievement becomes scientific. It really does. So start wrapping your head around that and think about what it is that we're sharing. And I'm sharing with you this week in M3. And I want you to go after the goal that we're setting for ourselves that way, knowing that if you do this and you continually do this, you will get what you want. There's no other way for it to happen. And in order for you to think about that, I want you to think about the way that our world works from the point of view of an acorn. You would agree that you're made up of the same stuff as an acorn. Now, yes, we can debate chemically what you're made up of, but ultimately, when you get down to the molecules, you get down to the atoms, it's all just energy. Once you start breaking down the atom and you look at all the electrons and they're spinning and they're vibrating in a certain rate of speed, it's all energy. And this energy is vibrating in a certain way so that it shows up in our life. We see the acorn, we see our hand, we see the computer, and we take it all as like, well, that's the thing. That's fact. But it's not. It's just different reflections of energy. This is what I want you to think about. You are made up of the same stuff the acorn is made up of. So you operate by the same laws that the acorn operates by. But what's the problem with us humans? What's the challenge that we face when we go out there in the world to say, hey, this is what I want, and we don't get it? We say, well, it doesn't work. The problem is that we have the most powerful mind. We're God's highest form of creation, and we have the ability to choose what vibration we are in. The acorn can't do that. The acorn can't see itself outside of itself. It doesn't have the ability to think of the future. It can only be here right now, expressing the vibration that it's in. But this is what the acorn does. We plant the acorn down into the dirt, and the acorn sends out that vibration because you would agree that the whole oak tree is not inside of the acorn. The acorn begins to draw to it what it needs to assemble the oak tree. It sends out a vibration. That vibration is oak tree. It's becoming the oak tree, and it always expresses itself perfectly as that. You would agree that the dirt that goes right where the acorn is at, there's not enough dirt there if you could just assemble all that dirt and make that huge oak tree. That acorn is beginning to draw to itself everything that it needs from far away, from the atmosphere, from the soil, from wherever it needs it to be, it draws to itself and it becomes the oak tree. Nature always expresses itself perfectly that way. So, what's the problem with us? Why do we think we're made up of the same stuff as the acorn? Why do we think that it doesn't work for us? The problem is our big brain, and that we have the ability to choose what we want. We have the ability to choose the vibration we're in. So when we say that we're going after something and we don't see results right away, which, by the way, for the acorn, how long does it take for the tree to be made? Great big oak tree take 100 years. We don't see results in a day, a week, a month, or a year. We start changing our vibration. Our vibration becomes, oh, maybe this is not possible for me, or maybe that was a dumb thing to do, or maybe that I, I don't want to be an oak tree anymore. I think I want to be an orange tree. I want to be I want to be a rose. I want to be a weed. You know what? Forget it. I'm just going to let the outside world dictate what my vibration is. Do you think the acorn is affected by? I know this is a heavy question. I want you to think about this. Is the acorn being affected by COVID? No, but we are. We let that stuff step in there, and when we decide what it is that we want, then we say, "Oh, well, COVID is this thing, so now I'm going to change my vibration. I'm going to watch TV. I'm going to get upset. I'm going to be in a different vibration." The challenge for us guys is that we have the wonderful, wonderful ability to create anything that we want. But because we have that ability, we do not set our intentions on a single thing. We do not hold the vibration long enough to become the oak tree that we want to become in our life. I just wanted you to think about that. That's that scientific process. Those are the laws. And that's what I'm sharing with you here in M3. Today it's called a worthy ideal, and your worthy ideal is something that means something to you that you're going to go after. That's why we call it that. What's the real purpose of a goal? And by the way, do you know why most people don't even get their goal? They don't get the things that they want in life. It's because they never even set a goal. They actually let the goal just kind of float around. They never write it down. They never put it in front of themselves and they say, I'm doing this. This is it. They just let it float around and float around. So it never takes root. It never takes seed. This is the number one reason, the lesson that we're covering right now, why most of the world doesn't have what they want, because they don't even put it in front of themselves with intention of getting it. So today is such a powerful lesson. If you never show up for M3 again, this is a powerful lesson that you could take with you forever on what you do. And for the rest of your life, always set a goal for what it is that you want. And what's the purpose of a goal? The purpose, a true purpose of a goal is to grow in awareness. When you think like $1 million, you say, okay, go earn $1 million. It's not about the $1 million because lottery winners prove this. So often you see people, there was a big pot recently. My wife was talking about it. It was big. So here's the thing is you go back and you see a lottery winner who won that money, and just a few years later, they're all the way back to where they started. They don't have anything. Why is that? Because they haven't grown in awareness to the person that actually has that. But when you grow in your awareness, when you understand what that is, and that's what the goal is for, is to grow in awareness, to become that person, to get it. When I take the thing away from you, if I take the $1 million away from you, you've learned how to create the $1 million. It doesn't matter. That's what the goal is really is for. If I take your fitness results away from you, it doesn't matter. You've grown into the person that can achieve that. Suppose something happens to you and all of a sudden you can't be fit. You have to be down for a while. Maybe you break a bone, maybe you break a leg, and you've got to be down for a while. Well, it doesn't matter. When you've grown in awareness for that person, you're going to go back to that person every time. And every goal that you set for yourself is exactly for that person, for that purpose, for you to grow into that person. Yes, goals, you do get stuff. It's not the main point, though. And the reason this gets mixed up is because people say, well, it's kind of selfish to want all that. No, it's not about that. When you put your goal on your awareness, it's not about the selfish of wanting the money. The money represents fun, things that you're doing. And to get the things, that's a side effect. That's fun. Enjoy that too. It's all part of it. But understand that that stuff is never the main purpose of your goal. Your goal is meant for you to expand and grow. And a goal gives your life purpose again. Most people, without that goal being set in front of them, their only goal is to make it through the day. And they're working to make it through the next day and the next day and get to a weekend, and a weekend to do what? To escape from whatever it is that we were doing and before long we're back to it again, and we just keep rushing through life. It doesn't have purpose. We never ask the question, what are we rushing toward? Ultimately we're rushing toward when we're not going to be able to use this body anymore. We're rushing toward the grave. A worthy ideal, if this is a big, if you know how to do the goal that we're looking to set today, I want you to know that that's the wrong goal for you, because that means that you're not going to grow. We don't want to be setting goals like that. When you set a goal that you already know how to do, you're never growing in your awareness. You're just going sideways. And a big reason for that is the inspiration that's behind that. When you set a goal that you don't know how to do, that you really, really want, that's when the power gets behind the goal. You're in love with it. That's when you're tapping into those higher energies. We say that we don't have energy. I'm tired. I don't feel good. But it's because you're emotionally involved with something that you don't want to do. When you're just letting life happen to you that way, you're just thinking like, man, I don't have the energy to do what it is that I need to do. If it's go work out, or I'm involved in the thought of the workout and it makes me tired and I can't stand it. Well, your worthy ideal, when you learn to set it as the goal, is it's a workout, attaining something that you really love. You're in love with that image. It's the same love that we can have for our kids, for our wife, for our family, for our friends. It's all that same energy and power. And you ask yourself, what would I do for them? What would I do for my kids? You would do anything for your kids. What would you do for somebody that you love? Anything. That's the energy that you want to tap into. And that's the image that you want to create for yourself. Something that you're absolutely in love with, and you don't know how you're going to do it, but you're just in love with what you're going to get when you get there. If you don't want it that much, there's a big chance that you're going to give up. It's no big deal if you don't get it. And that's why we don't set goals that we already know how to do. I don't care. It takes work to do that thing, and let's forget it. There's no growth associated with doing something that you already know how to do. There's three types of goals. Simply put, there's A-type goals. An A-type goal is already something that you know how to do. This is where most of the world functions. It's like a shopping list. By the way, A-type goals are going to be a part of what you're doing, but they're naturally going to fall into place for you. They're naturally going to show up. You're going to know what your shopping list is. B-type goals is what you think you can do. This is where the world starts to step out and they say, if I can reach out to this person, if I can get this thing, if I can make this thing happen, I can get all these things in line. And still, it steps and it's kind of jagged here, but I could get through this part. You already know how to do it. There's no growth associated with that. And there's no inspiration in those two goals. So the C-type goal, it's the only goal that matters to us here at M3. We're going after the goal that your wants. What do you really want? I had a few coaching calls today, and people see that I ask that question again and again, and I try to get to the root of that. What do you really, really want? Your type C goal comes from your fantasies, and they're originated through the effective use of your imagination. And for a lot of us, that imagination has atrophied. When we were kids, we finally had to stop doing that, and we had to plug into the real world as we were taught. So we don't use our imagination, and we don't really give ourselves permission to do that. You ever see creative stuff and we say, oh, that's for kids, It's very rare that you'll see a big creative department created for adults. Oh, this is where the kids go in and they do their artist stuff. It's because we have that mentality. Well, guess what? Imagination is for us, and it works just as well for us. And we have the ability to build big, beautiful pictures of what it is that we want. That's what we've got to get involved with here on this lesson, our worthy ideal. I want you guys to think about this. This guy is Napoleon Hill, and he said analysis of several hundred successful people disclosed the fact that every one of them had the habit of reaching decisions promptly and changing these decisions slowly if and when they were changed. People who fail without exception have the habit of reaching decisions, if at all, very slowly, and of changing these decisions quickly and often. But why does it matter what this guy says? If you don't know who he is, he's the author of Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich was created by Napoleon Hill, but it was created from Andrew Carnegie. If you don't know who Andrew Carnegie is, he's one of the guys that made America. He was a steel magnate. He much of the steel that's probably in your city in some of the early buildings came from Carnegie. He did that. But Carnegie, he had an understanding of the way things worked, and he couldn't understand why the world couldn't get it. And what he was seeing is that people were full of education, and yet they weren't being successful. They couldn't create money for them. They couldn't create happiness, happy relationships. They didn't have happy lives. So there was a disconnect between what was going on out there in the world in education and what was actually showing up in the form of happiness. Well, Napoleon Hill, he was a reporter for a magazine, and he landed an interview with Carnegie, which is a big deal because Carnegie was the richest man in the world at the time. But he didn't know when he landed the interview with Carnegie that Carnegie was actually looking for somebody to take on his endeavor. And his endeavor was to go out and find out the meaning, what it is, the scientific broke down steps of success. So after 3 days of working with Mr. Carnegie, Hill was asked the question if he would take on an endeavor. And his endeavor was to go talk and work with 500 of the most successful people in the world, study them like scientists, and find out why they were successful. And believe it or not, Hill, he took that endeavor on, and it took him between 24 and 25 years of studying those people to come up with those answers. And then he wrote the book Think and Grow Rich. The Think and Grow Rich is hands down one of the most successful, producing books there is out there. I don't think that there's a book out there that's created more millionaires, but the principles are the same for whatever it is that you're trying to achieve in your life. When you say think and grow rich, you can be rich in relationship, health, anything that you want. Rich is just having an abundance of what it is that you want. But upon that, the reason what he says matters so much is because he studied these people like scientists, and he found that every one of them that were successful made their decisions quickly. And they didn't change their decisions. If ever they changed their decisions, they changed their decisions slowly. Now, people that were failures, they made their decisions, if they ever made them at all, very slowly, and they changed the decisions quickly and often. I hope I said that right the first time. Success, make decision quickly and don't change it. Not successful, you don't make decisions and you change it back and forth and back and forth. Now, doesn't that resonate with what's going on with the acorn and what we were just talking about? It really comes down to an understanding, and this guy was showing it, of the word decision and what decision is. I asked this question, I spoke last weekend. I said, do you guys ever remember going to a decision class in your life? Do you remember going to decision school? Or maybe even sat down with the mentors in your life, whether it was your parents or anybody that was, teaching you the things that they were teaching in your life and said, this is how you make a decision. No, nobody does. We're not taught how to make a decision. And because we're not taught how to make a decision, the only way that we're learning about making a decision is by default, which is weigh the options. Think about this. We just said this. Life shows up as frequencies. That's what it really is. It's all energy vibrating at a certain speed so that it shows up. But you can put this in more practical terms for yourself when you think about what are all the different things that can happen to you in your life. If you leave here today and you step outside your door and you start to contemplate all the different things that could happen, it's kind of silly to even think about it, because anything can happen. As we said, you can walk outside of your house and your neighbor might be there and they might say hi to you. Your neighbor might throw a rock at you. You might see dogs and people who see what I mean? It just becomes crazy to even think about what are the options. So the frequencies of what we're seeing out there in the world are infinite. But the best that we can do right here in this PowerPoint in explaining this is saying that look at these lines and understand that these frequencies, these lines are represented by these frequencies. And we just agreed that those frequencies are infinite. So thus, we're not being taught how to make a decision. The options of what can happen in life and what can happen in your life are infinite. So already you see, how can I weigh the infinite? You can't. You just can't. So because this is the only way that we've been taught about making a decision, we start to take this endeavor on. And by weighing the options, we start to default ourselves. And I'm going to show you how we do that. Right now, you're being expressed on a frequency. The thoughts that you have, the actions that you're taking, the things that you're doing in this life on a regular basis are getting you the results that you're getting because you're emitting a frequency through that action and through that feeling that you're feeling throughout your day. What you want to do, it doesn't matter what it is that you say that you can do. Think about the Wright brothers. When they said that they were going to fly, people said that that wasn't an option. If you can think it, if you can conceive it in your mind, it's a possibility. And they proved that. That was a really far out thing. If you think about the Wright brothers, I had this conversation this week with somebody. If you were standing with the Wright brothers and it was like 2 weeks before they actually flew that plane, which everybody was saying, you can't do that. They're just bicycle mechanics and they're crazy, but they did it. But suppose it's 2 weeks before that happens. And you point up to the moon and you go, we could fly up there. I mean, you would be off your rocker. People would say, what are you talking about? But 60 years later, after they flew that plane, that's exactly what we did. So anything that you can think about is a possibility for you. A simpler way of thinking about this is somebody down here, suppose they're earning 20, 30, $50,000 a year. They're not having the same thoughts. They're not having the same feelings as somebody who is earning $500,000 a year. Somebody's earning $5 million a year. Somebody who has a lifestyle and a physique, a body that reflects that they're not being active, they're not having the same thoughts and feelings as a person who has a really fit body and has tons of energy. They're just not thinking the same way. So those frequencies are there and they both exist as a place. That's not debatable. But when we go to decision and we say we're going to weigh the options, this is the only way that we understand how to make that decision. We say, I want to go do my goal up there when something for my goal will show up. That sounds crazy, right? But let's put it this way. I will go do my goal as soon as I find the time. I will go do my goal as soon as I find the money. I'll go do my goal as soon as the kids leave for school, as soon as the kids move out of the house. So we've not made the decision to go do it. That's what weighing the options really is. We're procrastinating. I just said this, the opposite of decision is procrastination. I've not made the decision to do the thing, so why is it going to show up for me? And here's the big thing. Even if that thing showed up for you, if you haven't made the decision to go do it, you're not going to think that it's for that. If the money shows up for you to actually go for your goal and you haven't made the decision to do it, you're going to put that money someplace where you think it fits into your life because you're vibrating down here on this frequency. So you don't think it shows up. It doesn't show up. You don't open the door for the things to show up. And what happens? You never pursue your goal. It never looks like you can get to your goal, and your goal, it just doesn't have that life into it anymore. It starts to fade and your goal goes away, and we're left with that feeling of this is not possible for me. This is the number one reason why people get involved in this stuff and they change their frequency so much. They don't understand how to hold their frequency on it. When their goal fades away, they just default and they go, that stuff doesn't work. But they didn't hold their intentions on it. They didn't understand what decision was. And I'm going to show you that right here, right now. Cut and dry. I want you to know what we do at M3 can be ridiculously simple. It really can. So you have to take it in. It doesn't mean that what you're going to do is simple, but the understanding of how to do it can be ridiculously simple. It really can. So how do we make a decision? We're going from a frequency of, am I doing this? That's where you're at. When you're indecisive, am I doing that? When you get your heart set tonight on what it is that you want, the only way you're setting a goal that you don't know how to do and you really want, the only way that you're going to get on the frequency of that goal and your steps for doing it are going to show up are by changing two words. Are you ready? Am I doing this goes away to I am doing this. That's it. Once you make the decision that I am going to do this no matter what, that's how you dial the cell phone number of your goal. That's how your next steps start showing up. You're leaving behind the old you and you're learning to think from the new you. And I want to open your mind up to this right now, too. If I asked you to get up and just get out of the room that you're in right now, so you're sitting, you're watching this, you're listening to me, and I say, get up and get out of the room that you're in right now. What are the different ways that you can accomplish that goal? You could hop on one foot, you could walk backwards, you could walk around the room 3 times and then leave. You could walk around the room 10 times. If there's a window, let's talk about that because you could dive out that window too. Starts to get kind of crazy again, doesn't it? It's infinite. So whatever it is that you want to do, the ways for you to get there are actually infinite too, and there's a way for you to get there within that infinite. Doesn't that just kind of blow you away when you start to look at life from that point of view? Whatever it is that you say that you want to do, there are infinite ways for you to get there. And the only way that you're going to find your way through that process is by making the decision to do it. This is heavy right now. A decision is I'm doing it and that's it. And I say this all the time. It's like you looking at a mountain saying, I'm going to climb that mountain. Or you're going to see my dead body on the side. That's pretty heavy, right? But think about this. All you're doing right now is switching your energy because right now, whatever you're doing and whatever results you're getting in your life, you're trading your life for that too. So when we redirect our energy and we say, well, I'm going to go somewhere where I want, it's no different. You're just choosing to go after something you want. And by the way, that decision is the decision that leads to happiness. Every day that you move in a direction toward what you want is success. It's actually not obtaining the thing that's going to make you happy. It's understanding how to create the steps for yourself for growing into that person and creating that causes the happiness in our life. We begin to move toward it, and it's done just this simply. We switch from, am I doing this? To, why did I put that fade? I am doing this. And now the steps for your goal show up. And your only job at this point is to hold that vibration. Steve Jobs said, the dots never line up looking forward. You have to have the faith that the dots will line up. The dots in your life, when you want to do the big things like people like him have done, the dots only line up when you look back. So why do we reject the C goal? Because we've got programming. We've been told, how are you going to do that, smart guy? If you can't answer, that's silly. We've been shamed. We've been taught that you don't do that stuff. We don't do that. Our family doesn't do that. Fill in the blank. We don't go to school. We don't need school. Whatever that is. That's not true. We have to let all that stuff go and understand that whatever it is that you want to do, that you can do, and just get into that place. What is it that you want to do? We've been taught that fantasy is not for us. Fantasy's for kids. You shouldn't be caught daydreaming anymore. You got to get down. You got to pay these bills. You got to do your work, 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 work. That's why you see adults are so proud to be the hardest worker. I'm just the hardest worker. Hard work is just a misnomer. When you're in love with what you're doing, it's not hard work. You're absolutely in love with attaining that goal. So it's energetic work. You're filled with the joy of knowing that you're moving toward what you want. Hard work is going and doing something that you don't want to do every day. And that thing doesn't have to be very hard at all. If you can't stand it, you can expend a fraction of the energy that you would expend going towards something that you wanted, and you're completely wiped out. It's a drag. That's what hard work really is. It's going after what you don't want. We're punished as kids for not paying attention. We let our minds wander. We fantasize in school. You're busted. You can't answer. You're supposed to. Isn't that the worst one right there? It makes you think of that. And I remember doing this so much. Man, you're just thinking about like what an awesome time you had in recess or something that you did. And the teacher goes, Matt, what's the answer to this? And you couldn't answer. And you're taught like so much and an emotional impact right then. Like, I'm going to pay attention from now on. I'm not going to fantasize anymore. My face is red. I can't take that. I got my name on the board. Your answers in your life or your goal are not going to show up from your thinking mind. Your thinking mind will actually be the thing that receives. Um, Napoleon Hill said, this is important, that what he recognizes that the world had a way of making, it had a habit of making room for those who knew what they wanted and they were going to get it. And that's what he recognized by studying those 500 people. Somehow the right circumstances always showed up. Somehow the right moments showed up. The right thing at the right time shows up. And that's what we're working on. This is what we're creating in your life right now for the next 12 weeks in M3. So first, this is what we're going to do. These are part of kind of the action steps as you want to take this stuff down and think about this. Start taking screenshots now. Do you want to do this? And understand that brain surgery, as I said, is not something that I want to do. I don't know how to do it, but it's not a good goal for me because I have no desire to do that. I don't want to be a ballet dancer. I don't know how to do that either, but I'm not going to put my heart into that. So not knowing how to do it is not enough. You've got to really, really want it. Not kind of, or this is what I'm supposed to do, or anybody else telling you something that you should do. Shift all that stuff aside, let it go, and let you, the unique you that's meant to come out into this world, start coming out. Answer 2 questions for yourself. Am I able? And this is just to get you in the right vibration. What are humans capable of? This question right here is to get you in the right vibration. Humans, we only have 2 things to reference, 2 sources of reference, science and theology. And both science and theology cannot determine what we are actually capable of. And thus, we are infinitely capable. That's all that they can arrive at. There's anything possible for us. So there's no human alive right now, or a human that has been alive, that can tell you what you're capable of. So am I able is an automatic yes. You're capable of anything. Now here's the big question. Am I willing to do what it takes to achieve this goal? When you answer that question with a yes and you say, I'm willing to do this, I'm willing to dedicate my life to this, that's when you become emotionally involved in that goal. That's when you get the flutters. That's when you get excited, you get nervous, you get all of it. That's when you shake yourself up because you're actually butting up against programming that you have. It says, what are you doing? That's exactly the way it's supposed to be. That's the emotional involvement. And that's the moment that this begins to happen for you. And the third thing you do is, I'm doing it. That's it. You just decide to do it. Remember decision now. Do you want it? I'm doing it. How to decide on what it is that you want. All we've got to do here is really get back to being a kid. Relax and permit your mind to fantasize about what you want. Ask yourself this question. If you couldn't fail in this life, what would you do? How would you live your life? If every resource was at your disposal, what would you do? What kind of life do you want to live? What kind of relationships do you want to have? What kind of money do you want in your life? Not the money you think you can get. There is no big or small, by the way. There's not a large amount of money. There's not a small amount of money. It just is amount of energy that's out there. And money isn't even, it's not what we really want. What we want is the experiences. But when we think large or small, it's always due to a reference point. We have a set point. If the most money we've ever made is $50,000 or $100,000 a year, then we look at $1 million as a large amount of money. But Warren Buffett makes $1.5 million a day off of the dividends of his Coke stock. So $1 million is not, it's not a big deal with him at all. Somebody told me what Bezos is making per month with Amazon, and it's crazy. It's like in the billions. So what does that break down to him hourly or per second? It's all in reference. There is no big or small until we make it so. So let that stuff go and allow yourself to have those thoughts just of what it is that you want. Allow your mind to release and just begin to flow. Once your mind begins to release, let it flow out your pin. I think I put it in a slide in here later that says, what would you be really, think about this, what would you be really bummed out? What was it that if today was your last day on earth and you looked back, you said, what, gosh, I really wish, of all the things that I wish I would have done, what's the thing? And once you start to get this stuff flowing out of you, you're going to have a shopping list. And you're going to decide, actually, it's on the next slide. I see it here. You're going to decide which item is most important for you. Because again, we want to become like the acorn. We want to become focused on just one thing. And here's the beauty of it. All the beauty that is an oak tree with the leaves and it producing acorns and just the wonderful size that it is, all those things that you thought that you wanted to that are on your list, so many of those things are going to start to show up for you anyways. And you're going to, along that path, you're going to grow into the person who can do those things now. But you're only going to be able to do it by choosing one thing. What is it? Which item on your list do you want the most? Which item would you be most saddened to know that if you left Earth, this world today, you didn't get accomplished? What would you be most bummed out about? And which item excites you the most? Another one too is think about, if you need yourself jogged here, think about somebody that you admire a lot, that you see them doing great things, and ask yourself, what are the things that they do? And would you like to do some of those things? Get rid of the how. Don't worry with the how. Only think about the things that you want to do. Don't let people or circumstances decide for you. Think about this. What if I told you about your cell phone 20 years ago? What if I told you 20 years ago you're going to have a computer in your pocket that is more powerful than the first computer that was on the first shuttle that went to the moon? And not only you, everybody in the world would have a computer that powerful in their pocket. Even the people who have no money, somehow they've got a cell phone. And you could take a picture with that cell phone, you could send it to New Zealand, and it would be there in an instant. I could literally take a picture of my dog and I could send it to somebody in Africa, and it's there in an instant. And I told you about that 20 years ago. You would think I was crazy. Nothing is created or destroyed. Everything you need is here. You only lack the awareness. Where did the idea, the understanding and awareness of flying come from before the Wright brothers flew? Where was that idea? Where was that awareness? It was already here. Every bit of knowledge that you need, everything that you need to do what it is that you want to do is here. It's just a matter of becoming aware of it. We have to flip our vibration over to that, and thinking from the end, let the steps show up for it. Isn't that powerful to think that? Where was the awareness to create this cell phone before it was created? Because all of the stuff that creates the cell phone was here. But the idea, the understanding, it was just floating around there until somebody said, okay, that's possible. I'm going to do that. Sure enough, there it is. It sits right in front of us. One of the yogis that said they were going to take their transcendental meditation to the world. This is actually in my big coaching, and they talk about that, and it's really funny the way they put it. He said, I'm going to take this transcendental meditation to the world. I want to share it with the world. And so somebody from the world, as you would put it, not understanding the way the yogi understood, said, well, where's all the money going to come from to do this? It's going to take a lot of money. And the yogi answered, well, wherever it is right now. Isn't that really, yes, wherever it is right now. We're going to change the programming really fast now with you guys. Think about you. This first one, Was programming that you accepted earlier. Do you see you right stuck in the middle of fail and success? We think that we need to move towards success and it's pulling us further away from failure. But if ever, with this programming that was handed to us, it was handed to us from fear based thinking. We think that if we move towards success, we're further from failure. But if ever we move toward fail, then what? We're further from success. So we're so afraid to fail. We're afraid that the world's going to view us that way, and that's going to be it for us. We should be embarrassed and shameful of it. But think about this. Is that how you learn to do everything that you know how to do, like from an early stage in your life, how you came into this life? How did you really learn to do the things that you do most in your life? Walking, talking, speaking, feeding yourself. You failed your whole way there. You failed and you course corrected all the way there. You would fall and you would bang your head. You would get up and you would do it again because you were centrally focused. Like, I'm going to walk like mom and dad. I'm going to walk like my brothers and sisters. And you never gave up and you failed all the way there. By the way, how did you say your name the first time you said it? Very, very badly. How about the second, third, or 100th time you tried? Still not very good. You remember the funny things that we would say about our kids? You're like, oh, he's saying his name. But now you don't even hesitate to say your name because that's how we really truly learn and that's how we achieve our goals. So take you out of the middle of failure and success and stick you on the side here and understand that you're going to fail your way to success. And that's okay. Every failure is a success because you've just figured out how not to do it. And now you've got answers about how to course correct for where you want to go. Embrace failure and go for it. You knew how to do this when you were little. You just forgot. You just got programmed differently along the way. Get rid of it. Write your goal statement and carry it with you. We're going to write it in the present tense, and we're going to cover this when we get deeper into this. We're going to cover why we do this. Because our subconscious, that's where most of our behavior comes from. It doesn't understand I will. When you say I will, it's thinking, okay, that's cool because it's in the future and I don't know, whatever, just forget it. I'm not doing it now, is what you're saying. So that's perfectly fine. We write our statement in a present statement. We say, I'm so happy and grateful now that, or you can just say, I am that. I'm that now in this moment and feel it now. And at least read it twice a day out loud. Feel the joy of your goal accomplished. Words are one thing, but if you're saying it and you're sending out a vibration that's different from that, that's what we're working on creating. Feel what it feels like to have that and do that. Feel that joy of your goal accomplished now. If you follow this process, I guarantee it has to happen for you. So live from there and believe from there and know that you're going to take these steps and just feel the joy of having it now. Think about the things that's happened for you now that you've achieved this goal. What do you get to do? What do you get to experience with your family and your friends? What is life like? And feel that vibration. And whatever you're doing in your life, especially if you find yourself in a bad vibration, pick up your goal card and get back in this vibration. Think about being that person now. I just asked Jennifer this the other day. We were going for a walk on the canal. And it's really easy to say, well, what is that person? What do they feel like when they're going for a walk on the canal? You can get into that vibration anytime you want. And this, your goal card, is a powerful reminder for you and how to do that. Success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Big words, I understand that. But what that means is success is just realizing that you're moving towards something that you want. That's all that it is. Success is moving toward what you want every day. Yes, you're going to get the thing, but when you get the thing, you're going to be moving on to another thing because you can't rest on your laurels there. We know people with endless money can be some of the most miserable people in the world because they don't have a goal and they don't have success. They don't even know how to be successful. Life has no meaning or purpose for them. So understand that success is just moving toward what you want, and you can't have success unless you have something to find out for you that you want, that worthy ideal. A powerful quote changed my life from Earl Nightingale. Understand that God's gift, Steve Bowe said this, is more talent and ability than we'll ever hope to use in our lifetime. But our gift to God is to develop as much of that talent and ability as we can in this life. Napoleon Hill said that no more effort is required to aim high in life to demand abundance and prosperity than is required to accept misery and poverty. And he studied. So, what does this mean? He studied 500 of the most successful people in the world and realized, by the way, he got a big lesson in failure, that they were all expending about the same amount of energy. And the way we can wrap our heads around this and think about this is that we see a lot of homeless coming up here in Tulare, wherever you may be. You might be dealing with that where you're at. But you see a homeless person dragging a shopping cart down through the rocks of the railroad tracks or over a street, maybe 4-lane highway. They're trying to get where they need to go. They're having to sleep out into the elements. They're being cold, they're being hot, they're being dirty. Their life is not easier. They're not making that choice because it's easier. They're expending the same amount of energy. And as a matter of fact, a lot of times when I do go for a walk and I see them, I think that I'm having a lot more fun time and I feel badly. I feel like, man, if they only understood that they're working really hard just for that. If they would redirect their energies, they could change the results in their life. We're all going to expend about the same amount of energy, guys. It's just the direction of it. Where do you want to direct your energy? Matt Morgan said this. People spend their whole life running from and avoiding and trying to escape from a life they've built, not knowing that they could have been building a life that they wanted and running toward that instead. I want to recommend to you guys, read the article that Bob wrote on decision. I'm going to put a link for that up in the chat while we're actually finishing up here. And I want you to know, if you're receiving from this positivity, if you're feeling like this is something that you want to do and you want to move forward on, if this has affected you in a positive way today, sign up for M3. Go through this for the next 12 weeks and watch how your life changes. M3 Mastermind is free for 30 days. I'm going to put that link up in the chat. And then after that, it's only $9.97 a month. It's $10 a month. So what's going to happen for you in the process of 12 lessons that we're going to go through? We're going to walk through achieving your goal. It's literally going to cost you $20 in that time. Your first month is free, and the next 2 months are going to be $9.97 and $9.97, and you're going to be through this whole thing. So if you've got value from this and you want to change things in a big way for you in the next 12 weeks, grab that link and sign up for it. I'm not going to be reaching out to everybody via text all the time. I'm going to stop doing that. What I'm going to do is start reaching for the people who have invested in themselves, and we have to make an investment into ourselves in order to get the results that we want. Somebody was asked that question the other day, and I thought it was very profound. The question was, if you don't invest in yourself, do you think that it's reasonable for you to expect to succeed? Yeah, I think we all know the answer to that. Next week, the knowing doing gap. We're going to discover what you already know how to do to achieve your goal. It turns out that we actually know most of the things that we need to know, but we don't have access to it. We have to find out why we don't have access to it and why we're not doing those things, and then learn immediately to program ourselves to go after what we want. That's the knowing doing gap. And next week, this is why the first 2 modules of this coaching is so powerful. 1, we're defining out what we want. And 2, we're taking massive leaps toward it the next week. So I hope you guys got benefit. I hope you got super value from this stuff. And I'm going to open it up right now. Jen can open up. Anybody raise your hand or unmute, ask to unmute everybody. And we can just begin to do what we do in M3 Mastermind, is share like the family that we are. If this stuff touched you and you want to do something, you're welcome to share it. If you've never heard this information, whatever's on your mind, the floor is yours, guys.
Hello,
Every
Mac, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
How's it going? So yeah, I just want to say that so far everything that I've heard from one week to the other is something that I've dealt with in one way, shape, or form. And how you talked about today, how you see yourself versus how you currently are, and setting a goal and basically setting a goal but being too lazy to achieve that goal. And I mean, I am tired of not living as the person I know and want to be. So I think it's just confirmation that it's worth all the hard work to finally live as that person that you've been wanting to be, and know that you can be, and it's you owe it to your family to be.
Do you feel like you feel that resonance, Jason? Like you feel like, man, this stuff really rings a bell.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah. You know,
Sure.
when we hear the truth, like a lot of times we can't explain it's kind of like, I don't know why. This is why it actually got me so much and why I love to share it, is because it was resonating with in such a big way. But I feel like, man, nobody ever explains stuff this way. You think about Carnegie went out there and he knew that this stuff needed to be shared that way too. And that's why he said, Napoleon Hill, you got to go out and find this stuff out because nobody's sharing it with people that way. There is a science to achievement, but nobody knows it. We just go to school and we get a degree and we get out and we go, what do I do with the degree? So many people say
Yeah.
that. What do I do with this?
Hey, Matt,
Yeah, brother.
I love what you shared today, and I'd encourage anyone on this call to get Think and Grow Rich, because if you try reading that book on your own, it gets really confusing. But with what you're presenting, it's like the study guide. It's explaining it more about what a burning desire is and making a decision is. So um, I just recommend that people get the book Think and Grow Rich to do this. It'll go hand in hand, and yeah, I loved your presentation, man. It was on point, and I screenshot everything. I can't wait to jump into the questions later.
You said it, brother. And this is the thing. I'm actually going to put a link to Think and Grow Rich in the decision article. I'm clicking around while I do this stuff right here. First off, I'm going to put the link to M3 Mastermind. Like I said, you guys got value from this. Dive into it right now. Remember what it takes to make a decision. Do you want it? Do you want to pursue something in the next week? Do you want to find out what it is that you want to do and give it all you've got for 12 weeks and watch how it shows up in your life? Well, do it right now and get that M3 and just get going with it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a link. I'm going to send this recording to you of this. And then on top of that, I'm going to send you the link to the decision article. And there you'll find the Audible, the Kindle, and also the paperback to Think and Grow Rich, because that is a good recommendation, Eric. That book is powerful. How about anybody else? Anybody want to share? All right. I totally get that. Silence. Listen, guys, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put those links in here. I'll go silent. You guys want to chime in at any time. That's what we are at M3. We're a family. We just share comfortable space to share whatever it is you want. I'm going to put those links in here.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you so much. Who was that?
That was awesome. That's Amy.
That's Miss Amy. Thank you so much, Amy. I'm so glad that you hopped on.
Thank you. It's really inspiring.
Thank you so much. Did you like that one about the acorn and COVID?
I did. I'm like, that's right.
The
I'm no
acorn doesn't
squirrel.
care. The acorn
Yeah.
doesn't care if COVID's going on. It just says, I'm still
Yeah.
going to production.
That's right. Very good. All right. Well, thank you. I got to roll, but thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you so, so much.
Good night.
Thank you, Matt. I loved it. So thank you.
Is that
Got
Savannah?
a full house. Yeah, it's me, Savannah. So
Awesome. You know what? I'm
a
gonna
lot
put
of noise going on here, but I just want to say thank you and thanks for inviting me. And I will.
Thank you so much, Savannah. You froze up just a little bit there, but thank you so much. I really appreciate you hopping on. I really do. That was a lot of fun. You froze up a little bit there, like I did earlier.
You too.
Am I
Yeah.
freezing up?
You too. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you next week.
Yes.
All right. I can't grab my links, guys. This is my technical person. She should be doing that, but I didn't give her the links before. So I will get those links to you. I promise. I'm going to make a mental note of each and every one of you. That way you can have access to these resources and make it happen for you. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. I will see you next week. Have a great week until then. Write your goal out. Understand you're going to get that and get excited about it. And I will see you at 6 p.m. next week, next Tuesday. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.